And welcome back to the Stan Simpson Show. Remember, you can catch us online 24/7 at ctnow.com/Stan. Friend us on Facebook, Twitter too. Keating, you a Facebook friend? Are you following us on Twitter?
I keep an eyeball on you.
Come on, now we're starting to grow. We're getting our numbers up. You gotta.
That's good. I'll help you out on that.
You're the author of the Capital Blog Watch. So link your blog watch to the Simpson Show. We'll both have millions of followers, man.
All right.
We gotta collaborate.
We'll double your hits. I guarantee you.
Partner up, man. About partnerships.
Yeah, that's true.
So listen, this cell phone thing is pretty interesting. You have the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, saying that, you know what, let's just ban all use of cell phones. They're too dangerous. What has been the repercussions so far to that announcement in Connecticut, and what kind of legs will this proposal have?
I think some people think it's a little extreme. I mean, what it would be is basically even banning the hands-free, the Bluetooth technology that people are getting used to, or at least they've been forced to get used to if they don't want to get a ticket. So I think the governor was a little bit cool to the proposal. Some of the legislators were a little bit cool to it. It's a recommendation by the NTSB, and it would be up to every state legislature to approve it.
So the feeling is what now? If you have because the new cars now have it all built into the console.
Yes.
So that would be grandfathered. They wouldn't touch that. You still could have it in the car and be fine, as I read it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So the Bluetooth. So what is the biggest opposition then? If you want to say, hey, it saves lives, let's just ban it. We know most people are doing it. It's dangerous. We all recognize it's dangerous. What's the biggest counter to that proposal?
Well, I think basically what it is the proponents are saying that it's not the device, it's the distraction. So if you're driving and you're talking to your kids or whoever you're talking, you don't have to be holding the device, you don't have to be doing anything. They're saying there's evidence that even people on Bluetooths are getting into accidents.
Right.
The opponents are basically saying, there were opponents all the way back in the cell phone industry and even in the automobile industry fought this. The lobbyists fought this forever. It took 7 years for it to get through in the state legislature here in Connecticut. Right. 7 years. And some of the main opposition was that people are adults, they're allowed to be doing this, but there's not necessarily a law that says you can't be eating a donut and reading the New York Times and the Current and turning the pages as you're driving.
Right.
Now, if you have a moving violation, it gets more complicated. If you have a moving violation, that's a distracted driving offense. But the bottom line, when this debate was all going on, they said, what's the difference of holding a cell phone in your hand, which would be illegal, and a slice of pizza, which would not be illegal?
And what's the end? What is the counter to that? That's actually a very good point. If you're eating a pizza or eating a burger, right, is that...
Which you shouldn't be doing. Right.
But you don't necessarily legalize that or put it as public policy. So the argument is why you're picking on cell phones and not hamburgers.
Correct, correct. Well, if you look at the statistics, apparently there's still tremendous numbers of accidents that they can connect or that they try to connect to the distracted driving. This whole thing from the NTSB was related to a big accident involving 2 school buses and a bunch of other things in Missouri from last year when a kid had been texting literally like 11 texts in the previous 11 minutes before the accident. So it was a very big and bad accident that prompted this whole situation.
And normally it's those big bad accidents that drive this kind of public policy, right? The same folks who are opposing it now, if something happens in their backyard, are all of a sudden saying, hey, we got to ban these cell phones. So that's the other reality of public policy, that the same folks who are opposing it, when it hits closer to home or maybe someone from their family died, now all of a sudden they want to say, let's ban these things. So that's been evolving. Now, right now in Connecticut, they have their own fight. Now, the policy now is that you can do the hands-free.
Yes.
Right? Although they're making a very concerted effort to crack down on folks who are tweeting, who don't have the hands-free. And let's also hear from the NTSB representative making the case to ban these things altogether. Let's hear what he has to say.
This is becoming the new DUI. It's becoming an epidemic.
We all could be one of those people if we don't take personal responsibility.
No email, no text, no update, no call is worth a human life.
Interesting comparison. He's saying, hey, don't compare it to the hamburger or the pizza, compare it to the guy drinking and driving. That's a pretty compelling argument.
Right. No, we should also mention in Connecticut you cannot text either. The texting, at least at the state legislature level, is seen as worse. 35 states have bans on texting. There's only like 9 that have it on cell phones. It's totally different. So your average legislator nationwide is much more concerned about the texting. Generally, you have to be looking down and making a lot of movements with only, say, 9 or 10 in Washington, D.C. on cell phones, which is a separate situation. Connecticut basically has banned both.
I'm wondering from a strategic standpoint, instead of linking it to distraction, if they use the word intoxication, because I thought that was a pretty compelling argument to say, not the pizza, it's about the DUI, comparing that, and so don't see it as a distraction issue, but people being so intoxicated that it becomes a real safety risk. You know, with these things, all about words and semantics, and that's a pretty strong argument when you compare it to DWI and not the hamburger in your hand. Or
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, if you are texting and you're really not looking at the road, I have heard the comparison that it's almost just as bad as being drunk. As bad.
You aren't really enamored of a hamburger or a pizza. You're eating it, but we all know texting and cell phone, you get locked in. It becomes your sole focus, right? All right, so in 2 minutes now, let's segue. The year is coming to an end. Major shakeup in the governor's upper staff, PR person, budget director, assistant budget director. I mean, let's talk about that. What does that mean? I think the governor's trying to say it's all coincidental. They had their own plans. But internally, what are you hearing? This is a hard-charging guy. Is he burning his staff out?
Well, he does work them hard. There's no question about that. Tim Bannon, who was the chief of staff basically for the past year, they said it had not been announced publicly, but they told us after the fact that he was always going to stay only for a year. When it was announced that he was leaving, that surprised a bunch of people who had not heard anything about staying there for a year. Chief of staff's job for any governor is very, very, very difficult, and Governor Malloy is kind of a 7-day-a-week guy. And so the people who work for him do work very, very long hours. And yes, that is correct. Tim Bannon is leaving, and his deputy, Alvin Wilson, is leaving with him. Yeah,
see, that to me is odd. I mean, to commit for 1 year, to say you're going to commit for 1 term, I can understand, but to commit for 1 year and then have a new transition with a new budget chief, with a new chief of staff, is a little odd, because it's all about continuity and personality and coming to some kind of rhythm, and you lose that there. PR person leaving, how big a deal is that?
Yes, the new person is in. A guy named Andrew Dover is in. Colleen Flanagan was leaving. She had been working hard, obviously. You know.
She has a nice job with the higher ed, I believe,
education
right?
now, correct.
This new guy, any early take on the new gentleman coming in?
He hasn't really been there all that long, tell you the truth. So maybe a week, 2 weeks, something of that nature. Not very long.
It can be a high-profile job, right? An important job, whether you're the face and voice of the governor.
True.
Right. He's Chris Keating, Hartford Current Capitol Bureau Chief, one of our regular contributors here. When we come back, we'll have a return of Reese Norris, and he'll give his thoughts about the evolving stories involving child molestation allegations at Penn State and Syracuse. Can Syracuse coach Jim Boeheim survive a defamation suit filed against him? Remember, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, too.